The massive wardroom of the Zalak starship cast an eerie glow across the assembled commanders. 12 alien figures stood around a holographic table, their scales reflecting the blue light emanating from a three-dimensional map of their next target system. Commander Crix ran his clawed hand over the controls, zooming in on a small blue planet orbiting its yellow star. Third planet from their sun, he announced in a gravelly voice. The species calls itself human. His aide, Vel, stepped closer. What do we know about them, Commander? Little and less, Crix replied with what passed for a smile among his kind. Our scouts report they lack any real technology. No faster-than-light drives, no energy shields. They fight among themselves constantly. He gestured dismissively at the hologram. Primitive creatures, nothing more. Another commander, Zorks, leaned over the display. Then why waste our time with them at all? Crix's eyes gleamed. Because the other races need reminding. The galaxy must see what happens when you resist the Dominion. These humans will serve as a perfect example. The room filled with chittering sounds. Zalak laughter. The idea of these simple creatures providing any real opposition seemed absurd to the assembled commanders. How many ships should we send? Vel asked, already tapping notes into his datapad. 2 battlecruisers and 10 frigates should suffice, Crix decided. We want to make this quick and clean. Complete subjugation within 1 standard week. Might that be overkill, sir? Vel questioned. For such a primitive species? Crix's scales flushed a deeper purple. There is no such thing as overkill, only overwhelming force. Besides, we need the galaxy to witness this display. Every species that might dare oppose us will watch these humans fall. The tactical display shifted, showing the proposed fleet formation. 12 ships would drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the human system, broadcast the standard ultimatum, and then systematically destroy their military capabilities. Sir, Zorks interjected, our intelligence suggests they have thousands of separate political entities. They're constantly at war with each other over resources, territories, and ideologies. They can barely agree on anything. Excellent, Crixi nodded approvingly. A divided species is easier to conquer. We'll negotiate with their leaders separately, play them against each other. They'll surrender before they realize what's happening. The commanders spent the next hour reviewing tactical data. The humans had crude nuclear weapons, basic space stations, and communications satellites. Their largest weapons could barely scratch Zalak armor plating. Their space presence is minimal, Vel reported. A few satellites, some orbital stations, nothing that poses a threat to our shields. Perfect, Crix declared. We'll make planetfall within 6 days of initial contact. As the meeting concluded, Crix pulled Vel aside. Make certain the other commanders understand. This is not just a military operation. This is a lesson for the entire galaxy. The Dominion tolerates no opposition, no matter how small or insignificant. Understood, sir. When do we leave? Immediately. Prep the fleet for hyperspace jump. And Vel? Crix paused at the doorway. Ensure all ships record everything. I want footage of human surrender broadcasted to every civilized world in the galaxy. 3 days later, the Zalak fleet exited hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. As planned, they approached methodically, their advanced sensors sweeping the inner planets while their communication arrays prepared to deliver the standard ultimatum. Sir, the communications officer called out, we're receiving multiple transmissions from the 3rd planet. Dozens of different languages. As expected, Crix replied, settling into his command chair. Confused primitives. Begin the broadcast. The message went out across all frequencies. This is the Zalak Dominion. Your species has drawn our attention. Submit to our authority immediately, or face total annihilation. You have 1 Earth day to comply. In the depths of space, the Zalak crews prepared for what they believed would be an easy victory. They had conquered hundreds of worlds, subjugated countless species. Earth would be just another footnote in their vast empire. What none of them could have predicted was that their message had already reached Earth, and the response had begun spreading across the planet at the speed of light. Every human nation, tribe, and government had received the same ultimatum simultaneously. and for the first time in their history, they all heard the same threat. As the Zalak waited for surrender, something unprecedented was happening on Earth. National leaders were conferencing with their bitter enemies. Military codes were being shared openly. Weapons technology was being transmitted worldwide. Scientists were collaborating across all borders. The countdown had begun, but neither side fully understood what was about to unfold. The silence on the Zalak command deck was shattered by their communications officer. "Sir, we're receiving responses. From the planet." Commander Crix leaned forward on his command throne. "Finally, which faction speaks first?" "That's unusual, sir. All of them are responding, simultaneously." The main screen lit up with hundreds of communication channels. Names scrolled across the display. United Nations, China, Russia, United States, Korea, Japan, United Kingdom, Brazil. The list seemed endless. Crix gestured with his claw. "Connect to their most powerful military leader. We'll accept surrender from them alone." The communications officer nervously tapped his controls. "Sir, they all claim equal status. And they're all saying the same thing." "What?" Crix demanded. The officer played the recorded message. Captain Li Wei's voice was calm but firm. "This is Earth Space Defense Command. We don't negotiate with invaders. You want to fight? You'll get one." Similar messages played one after another, each in different languages but all carrying the same meaning. Vel approached cautiously. "Sir, our sensors detect something strange. All their military installations have gone to maximum alert, but they're sharing operational data openly." Crix's scales flushed dark red, a sign of confusion among his species. "Sharing? During a military crisis?" "Yes, sir. Watch this." Vel activated a tactical display showing Earth's surface. They're broadcasting their defensive positions, sharing satellite data, even exchanging weapons schematics. The command crew watched in bewilderment as intercepted human communications flowed across their screens. Korean Space Command to Moscow, Defense Grid. "Our satellites show enemy vessel positions, coordinates attached, launching countermeasures Alpha through Delta." "Confirmed, Seoul. Pentagon to all Allied forces. Share all defense protocols immediately. Open channel authorization. Granted to all nations. Japanese Self-Defense Forces coordinating with Argentine Air Command. Combined strike patterns uploaded to shared database." Crix stood abruptly. "This violates all tactical logic. Why would a divided species reveal their defense strategies to each other?" "Unknown, sir," Vel replied. "Our strategic models don't account for this behavior." The tactical officer suddenly shouted, "Sir, energy spike detected planet side." The main display switched to show Earth's surface. Thousands of launch signatures appeared simultaneously, not from one nation or continent, but from everywhere at once. "Impossible!" Crix slammed his fist on the console. "They're launching coordinated strikes without faster-than-light communications?" "Sir," the weapons officer reported, "these aren't simply missiles. They're modified civilian vessels, converted cargo ships, even modified satellites. They're throwing everything they have at us." Crix watched as waves of improvised weapons streaked toward his fleet. Individually, they posed no threat. Collectively, they forced his ships to activate shields far earlier than planned. "Maintain superiority," he ordered. "Target their major cities." But as his fleet's weapons fired, something else caught his attention. The humans weren't panicking. Instead, they were broadcasting evacuation routes, medical protocols, and survival. Instructions to every corner of their planet. "Sir," Vel reported, voice trembling slightly. "Listen to this." Colonel Park Jimin's voice filled the command deck. "All Earth Defense Forces, this is Seoul Command. Enemy bombardment incoming. Activating. Protocol Unity 7. All shelters open to all citizens regardless of nationality. Repeat. All barriers are lifted. We survive as one species or not at all." More voices joined. "Washington to Tehran. Our shelters are open to your civilians. Coordinates attached. Beijing to New Delhi. Combined shield projection active. Covering. Both regions." Crix stared at the tactical display, watching as the humans adapted in real time. They weren't just defending their own territories anymore. Nations that had been enemies for decades were suddenly working together, sharing resources, protecting each other's civilians. "Commander," the scanner officer called out. "Something's happening to their debris field." The view shifted to show a debris field where Zalak and human craft had collided. Humans in modified spacesuits were already moving through the wreckage, not to scavenge, but to study. "Sir, we're detecting focused energy beams on our damaged fighters. They're analyzing them, learning from them." "In the middle of a battle?" Crix couldn't comprehend what he was seeing. "Affirmative. And sir, they're broadcasting their findings to everyone, all nations, all defense forces. They're sharing their analysis of our technology in real time." Crix felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest. Uncertainty. This species behaved like no other he'd encountered. They shared their secrets, defended their enemies, learned from defeat, and adapted with frightening speed. As the day drew to its close, both sides had taken damage. But while the Zalak fleet maintained its tactical superiority, they'd lost something more critical: their understanding of how battles should work. The humans weren't following any known military doctrine. They were rewriting the rules of engagement moment by moment, and they were doing it together. "Sir," Vel whispered, "what do we do now?" Crix stared at the tactical display, watching Earth's defenses grow stronger by the hour, and realized this: conquest wouldn't be as simple as they'd assumed. 6 months had passed since first contact, and the Zalak command center had become a place of constant tension. What should have been a week-long victory had turned into a drawn-out siege that puzzled everyone aboard the flagship. Commander Crix stood before the central tactical display, his usually proud posture showing signs of fatigue. "Give me the daily report," he ordered Vel. "Sir, the human resistance has evolved considerably," Vel began, pulling up holographic data. "Yesterday, they launched 73 separate assault missions against our outer picket ships." "I expected that." "What's unusual about it?" "They succeeded in 40 of them, sir. But that's not the disturbing part. They're not using conventional military tactics anymore. They've created something they call the human doctrine." Crix's scales rippled. "Explain." Vel touched the display, showing intercepted human communications. "Listen to this broadcast from 3 days ago." General Kim Minho's voice filled the bridge. "All resistance cells, this is Earth Command Central. Traditional warfare doesn't work against their technology. Switch to human doctrine protocols immediately." Another voice chimed in. "Confirmed, General. Moscow cell implementing asymmetric patterns. Buenos Aires successfully tested the honeypot strategy yesterday." "The what strategy?" Crix interrupted the recording. "They're using tactics we've never encountered, sir," Vel explained. "Sometimes they attack with everything they have. Other times they pretend to be defenseless only to activate hidden weapons when our forces approach." Crix shook his head. "Primitives playing games. What threat could that pose?" "That's just the beginning, sir." Vel pulled up more data. "They've captured 3 of our fighters intact. Within days, they reverse-engineered our technology. But instead of keeping it secret, the display showed human broadcasts. This is Engineer Lee Su-min broadcasting to all Earth forces. Successfully decoded alien power core. Schematics attached. Warning. Modifications carry 23% explosion risk, but efficiency increases by 87%. Dr. Choi Young-a here. Berlin team and Cairo team, our combined research cracked their shield frequency. Rotate your attacks using these patterns for maximum effect." Crix felt his blood chill. "They're sharing advanced tactical information openly?" "In real time, sir. Every discovery, every captured technology, every successful attack pattern, they broadcast it to their entire species immediately." The tactical officer spoke up. "Sir, there's something else you need to see." The main screen displayed a grid of human faces, all speaking simultaneously, but clearly coordinated. "Joint Chiefs of Staff from every major nation," the officer explained. "They hold daily briefings together as equals." Crix watched as former enemies discussed strategy as if they'd worked together for decades. Japanese and Korean generals shared attack plans. American and Chinese admirals coordinated space defense. Russian and European commanders blended their tactical approaches seamlessly. But how? Crix muttered. They've been enemies for generations. That's not all, sir. Vel continued grimly. Our own forces are experiencing changes. What changes? Our soldiers intercept human broadcasts. They're learning about concepts like individual choice and freedom of thought. Some have been asking questions. The communications monitor suddenly activated. Sir, priority alert from Patrol Squadron 7. The screen shifted to show a Zalak officer in combat armor, looking panicked. Command, this is Squad Leader Rax. We've encountered a situation at the human base in Madagascar. Report, Crix ordered. We had the facility surrounded, complete tactical superiority. But then, the humans did something unexpected. They broadcast a message directly to us, to our soldiers. The recording played. Park Ji-yeon's voice was calm, almost conversational. Zalak fighters, this is Dr. Park, Earth Medical Corps. We've treated your wounded that we captured. They're healthy and safe. Would you like to retrieve them? No weapons, no tricks, just let's talk. Crix watched his own soldiers lower their weapons on the recording. And then? 3 of our squad walked out to meet them, sir. They talked. About their families. About why they fight. The humans showed them pictures of Earth children playing, of families eating together, of people choosing their own paths in life. The bridge went silent. Where are those 3 soldiers now? Crix asked quietly. Rax hesitated. They've requested asylum with the humans, sir. They say they're tired of conquest. They want to build instead of destroy. Crix slumped in his command chair. It wasn't just military defeat he faced anymore. These humans were somehow winning over his own warriors with ideas rather than weapons. Sir, Vel spoke softly. There's more. The humans have been in contact with other species the Dominion has conquered. They're sharing their defense strategies, their technology. They're building a resistance network. Crix stared at the tactical display showing not just Earth, but other systems where small rebellions had begun, all following the same pattern. Unity, shared knowledge, and a willingness to sacrifice for something greater than conquest. For the first time in his career, Crix realized he wasn't just fighting for territory anymore. He was fighting against an idea that was spreading faster than any weapon could travel. The Zalak command bridge had become a place of constant bad news. Commander Crix paced between tactical stations as his officers delivered report after report of mounting failures. Sir, the tactical officer announced, we've lost contact with 3 more patrol ships. Crix stopped pacing. Destroyed? No, sir. Captured. The humans are using our own ships against us now. Vel approached with another data pad. Commander, the situation has deteriorated significantly. The humans aren't just defending anymore. The main display activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of the solar system. Red markers indicated human positions, blue showed Zalak assets. 6 months ago, the red had barely been visible. Now red markers outnumbered blue ones. They've established 12 space stations using hybrid technology, Vel continued. Half human, half Zalak. They've created weapons we've never seen before. Crix studied the display. How is that possible? Watch this. Vel activated a recording. Private Kim Yuna's voice came through the speakers. Mars station to Luna base. Hybrid fighters operational. Combining our electromagnetic pulse weapons with Zalak shield technology. Field testing in Sector 7 was successful. Another voice responded. Confirmed, Mars. Jupiter mining colony has adapted Zalak medical tech to heal human battle injuries 70% faster, broadcasting protocols to all medical facilities. Crix interrupted the recording. They've spread throughout their system in months? Yes, sir. Using our own faster-than-light drives that they reversed engineered. But that's not the worst part. The display shifted to show movement patterns across multiple star systems. They've made contact with other species under Dominion rule. The rebellion isn't confined to Earth anymore. Before Crix could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Sir, multiple hyperspace signatures detected. The tactical display updated rapidly. 40 ships dropped out of hyperspace near Earth, but these weren't human vessels. The Telex sector fleet, Vel identified. They've abandoned their post to join the humans. That's impossible, Crix growled. The Telex have served the Dominion for a century. Not anymore, sir. The communications officer played an intercepted message. Admiral Chen Bo's voice filled the bridge. Telex allies, welcome to Earth. Your transition coordinates are attached. We've prepared docking facilities and arranged cultural exchange programs for your crews. A Telex voice responded. Earth Command, we've studied your methods. You fight for choice, not domination. This is what we want to learn. Crix watched as former Dominion fleets coordinated with humans, sharing weapons technology and tactical data openly. His worst fears were becoming reality. Sir, Vel said quietly, we need to discuss our personnel situation. What about it? 17 defections this week alone. Our soldiers are watching human broadcasts. They're learning about concepts we've never taught them. The main screen shifted to show a human broadcast. Song Mina, wearing a Zalak medical uniform alongside human doctors, addressed the camera. This is Dr. Song, speaking to all Zalak forces. We've learned your medical procedures are superior to ours in several ways. We're combining them with our techniques. Any wounded from either side receives the best possible care here. No one is turned away. Crix felt his command slipping away, not through military defeat, but through something far more dangerous. The dissolution of everything the Dominion represented. Commander, the tactical officer announced, massive energy reading from Earth. All human facilities are powering up. Simultaneously, the display showed a coordinated power surge across Earth, its stations, and allied ships. Every human installation was preparing for something massive. Are they attacking? Crix asked. No, sir. They're broadcasting. The main screen filled with thousands of human faces. Military commanders, scientists, doctors, teachers, children, all speaking in unison but in hundreds of different languages. General Li Min-ho stood at the center. Attention all vessels. This is Earth. Our message is simple. The old ways are over. Conquest through force only creates cycles of revenge, but cooperation builds lasting strength. Other voices joined in, creating a chorus. To the Zalak forces, your soldiers who chose to join us are safe and happy. They've found purpose, in creation rather than destruction. To all species under Dominion rule, our defensive technologies are freely shared. So are our agricultural methods, medical advances, and educational resources. To the Dominion leadership, you came to teach us our place in the universe. Instead, we all learned something new. The transmission ended, but its impact rippled across the bridge. Crix noticed his own crew exchanging glances, their expressions thoughtful rather than determined. Sir, Vel approached carefully. Our supply lines are compromised. Half our fleet requests immediate negotiation with human command, and our own soldiers are questioning our mission parameters. Crix looked at the tactical display one final time. Red markers now surrounded and outnumbered blue ones completely. But this wasn't a typical military defeat. The Dominion hadn't lost because humans were stronger. They'd lost because humans had offered something the Dominion never could. A choice, to be part of something rather than subordinate to something. Vel, Crix said slowly, prepare a channel to Earth Command. It's time to discuss terms. For the first time in his career, Commander Crix was ready to listen rather than command. 1 year after first contact, the same wardroom that had planned Earth's conquest now hosted a very different gathering. Commander Crix stood before Admiral Choi Yuna of the Earth Defense Command, his posture no longer that of a conqueror but of an equal. The Dominion formally surrenders all claims to the Sol system, Crix stated, his scaled hands offering a data crystal to the human admiral. Additionally, we renounce all forced subjugation policies in perpetuity. Admiral Choi accepted the crystal but didn't put it away. Instead, she extended her hand to Crix. Keep it, she said. We don't want surrender. We want partnership. Crix stared at the offered hand, confused. In all his years serving the Dominion, surrender had always meant subjugation. I don't understand. Neither did we at first, replied Dr. Park Ji-yeon, stepping forward from the human delegation. But we've learned that strength comes from cooperation, not domination. The wardroom doors opened, and more figures entered. Telex fleet commanders walked alongside Zalak defectors. Former Dominion species mixed freely with human diplomats. Some wore hybrid uniforms that combined elements from multiple species. Vel, who had been Crix's aide throughout the conflict, now wore a modified uniform, bearing both Zalak and Earth insignia. Commander, he said, I've been working with the humans for 3 months now. You need to see what we've built together. The wardroom's holographic display activated, showing not a tactical map, but a schematic of grand proportions. Space stations orbited multiple planets connected by trade routes and communication networks. The Cooperative Defense Alliance, announced Captain Li Wei, stepping forward. 32 species, all voluntary members. No tributes, no subjugation, no forced service. General Kim Min-ho gestured to the display. Each species contributes their strengths. Zalak shield technology, human adaptability, Telex navigation systems. We're not just stronger together. We're creating things none of us could imagine alone. Crix examined the data streams flowing between systems. Medical knowledge, technological innovations, cultural exchanges, all flowing freely in every direction. But how do you maintain order? He asked. Without central authority, without enforced loyalty. Lee Soo-min, the engineer who had first cracked Zalak power core technology, stepped forward. We maintain order through shared purpose. When everyone benefits, everyone contributes. When everyone has choice, everyone chooses community. The display shifted to show construction projects throughout the galaxy. Defensive stations that doubled as research facilities. Ships designed for exploration rather than conquest. Colonies that any species could join freely. Former Dominion territories, explained Song Mina, have requested alliance membership. We're helping them transition from forced labor to cooperative development. Crix felt his worldview shifting fundamentally. The Dominion had ruled through fear and suppression of information. But here, knowledge flowed so freely that he could barely process it all. Admiral, Vel addressed both Crix and Choi. We've prepared something special for today. A new hologram appeared. A massive space station under construction, its design incorporating elements from dozens of species. Unity Station, Vel announced proudly, to be positioned at the edge of Dominion space. A meeting place for all species, a symbol of what we can build together. Admiral Choi smiled at Crix. We'd like the Zalak to lead the defensive systems design. Your expertise in shields and weapons could protect exploration vessels from natural hazards throughout the galaxy. For the first time in months, Crix felt something he hadn't expected. Pride not in conquest, but in creation. And there's something else, added Captain Lee. The display showed communication arrays reaching into previously unexplored regions of space. We're sending messages to every corner of the galaxy. Not ultimatums, but invitations. We're telling them what we've learned. General Lee read from a prepared statement. The message is simple. We fought as enemies and discovered we were stronger as friends. The galaxy has room for all of us to prosper. Contact us not for conquest, but for conversation. Park Ji-yeon. Approach Crix directly. Commander, your tactical expertise helped us all learn faster warfare tactics. Now we'd like your help in developing better peaceful solutions. Crix looked around the room at former enemies working together. At species that had been conquered now standing as equals. At the future being built through cooperation rather than force. I accept, he said finally. But I must transmit something. To the Dominion homeworld first. Of course. Admiral Choi nodded. The communication array is yours. Crix stood before the transmission terminal. His message would reach the Dominion leadership, the same council that had dismissed humans as primitive creatures. Former Dominion Command, he began, his voice steady. This is Commander Crix. I bring word from what you called an easy conquest. You taught us that we weren't alone in the universe. The humans taught us what that truly means. Not that there are others to dominate, but others to learn from, build with, and grow alongside. He paused, looking around at his new allies. Never again wage war upon humans, but more importantly, never again wage war for its own sake. Instead, learn from us all. Learn to fight alongside them, not against them. Learn that the strongest empire is one built on choice, not force. The transmission ended and Crix turned back to the room. For the first time in his military career, he was part of something that built up rather than tore down, and somehow it felt like the greatest victory of all. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.